Welcome to the Awakening Podcast, where transformation begins from within. Your host, Stephen Matthew Clark, is joining you from a place unlike any other, his prison cell. But this isn't just a cell, it's a place of metamorphosis where he, and hopefully you, undergo a profound transformation. Each episode here is a journey into the depths of the human spirit. From the confines of these walls, Stephen has discovered the boundless expanse of the mind and heart. This podcast is an invitation to you to break free from the shackles of your own limitations and join Stephen in a quest for freedom, understanding, and growth. Stephen brings you stories of resilience, insightful interviews, and a fresh perspective on life's trials and triumphs. Here we don't see bars, we see bridges. Bridges to a better self, a better world. It really is like taking the red pill and waking up.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This podcast will help you take the red pill and will support you in your own personal transformation, supporting you in a change of narrative and more understanding. So tune in, dive deep, and awaken to your fullest potential. Remember, it's not about where you are, but who you can become. Join me on this extraordinary journey of transformation from the inside out.
Welcome, everybody. It is so good to have you here. And first off, I just want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you're celebrating tonight. Man, I hope, and ladies, I hope and pray that you are spending it with other people. You are spending it surrounded by love, and you are spending it feeling that you are loved and embraced. So tonight's topic is really special to me for a lot of different reasons, because we don't have this conversation enough. We don't talk about it enough, what it feels like and what it really means to be in the system of mass incarceration during the holidays, especially the holiday like Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you may be celebrating, Hanukkah. And I think one of the greatest gifts is, first of all, being able to express myself to all of you, but also being able to have this conversation in a way that's meaningful, in a way that you all understand it, because many of you that are listening to this have actually been through the experience as well. So I think what's amazing is we have a really special guest with us again this evening. He was with us the last couple of weeks, and he actually has returned because he wanted to be part of this conversation. He spent many holidays in the system of mass incarceration, locked up without the possibility of parole. And now my brother is on the streets giving love, supporting people, and just sharing loving kindness with so many. So I want to welcome to the stage Mr. Rodney Rice. Rodney, how are you, my dear friend?
I'm good, Mr. Clark. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, my brother, holy Moses. Well, first off, happy holidays to you. I see the Christmas tree behind you. It looks good. It looks good. I haven't seen a Christmas tree, well, in a little bit of time. So it's nice to see one. How are you feeling? Thank you, my dear friend. How did you spend the holidays today?
So I woke up, excuse me, cooked my fiance Maria breakfast. She's been ill lately with the flu, so I just wanted to care for her. The holiday season is a prominent moment for sharing, caring, and showing appreciation for those people to whom you love, and then giving back and thanks. So that's kind of how I started today. It's still early here in California, so that's what it's been so far.
You're always spreading and sharing love. So tonight's topic is what it feels like and what it looks like spending the holidays in the system of mass incarceration. And if anybody has had experience with that, not only myself, it's you, Rodney. And maybe I'd like you to just speak a little bit about maybe your experiences with the holidays while you were incarcerated, what that felt like for you, maybe some of the challenges, and actually some of the grace that you found in the holidays.
So for me, let me first say that the holiday season was, I want to say, a constant reminder that I had really messed up. Like it wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about my victims. It wasn't just about my community. It was a it was like being reborn into the ideal of the destruction that I had created. But more importantly, to my family, to the very people to whom I went on. I went into this trajectory of criminal thinking, believing that I was trying to save. So I was doing these things out here in the community, committing these crimes, believing that I was making money because I didn't want my family to be in the types of despairs that they were living in the urban communities where it was just plagued with so much violence and drugs and homelessness and abuse. And so when I became incarcerated, it from the very first Christmas that I had, the very first holiday that crossed my path, it was a wake up call. It was a moment for me to say, you know what? The very people to whom I said that I loved and cared about, from my family to my victims to my community, uh, I I put them in a place that they didn't deserve. I placed them in a position where they would feel a constant longing for a person to whom they loved and no longer could hold on to, no longer could touch, no longer could see. And so I was being selfish. I was being selfish and not accepting or acknowledging that all of the things that I was doing was at some point going to affect them.
Yeah, that's really well said and really really well put. That's So I talked to my mom earlier. I just want to share this with you real quick. My grandmom passed away 3 days ago. So my mom is at home. She's cooking for the family. She's cooking for her partner. She's cooking for my uncle. My uncle was really close to my grandmother. And I got to tell you, I think that's one of the things. It's not, I'm just reflecting on myself and feeling bad that I'm in the system of mass incarceration today in my prison cell, but I'm feeling bad that I can't be there for my family. I can't be there to support my family and to help them in the ways that they need it most. And mine goes a little bit deeper. It's like even my victim's family, my victim's mom. I wish I could be there for her to do things and help her and do more for her. And we have it made. I mean, I gotta say this, in the system of mass incarceration, I know some people have it really, really bad. And I know today is really difficult for them. And I love you. My heart goes out to all our brothers and sisters right now that are really having a tremendously difficult time. We know the suicide rates are up right now. We know the drug use is up. We know the homebrew is through the ceiling right now in the system. And I also know that people are really hurting. I know that their hearts are really yearning to be home with those that they love and care about. And for me, it's a harsh reminder. It's like I can't be there for my mom. I can't be there for my family. They fed us nice today. They gave us a nice tray with a steak, believe it or not. Like we got a steak for Christmas with some nice vegetables, some squash, and I'm not complaining. There's some people on the streets that don't even have that. I think what's most difficult is being away from those that we really, really, really love and we really care about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Maria and I would like to extend our condolences for your loss. And so, just know that we have to be strong. We have to be resilient in the idea that when we change our lives, we are living in their memory because we chose to change. We may have sometimes done it too late, but it's never too late when it comes to uh, trying to do the right thing for those people to whom we say we love.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I completely agree with that. And I completely stand behind that statement at the same time. Um, it's really difficult not being, this. I mean, when you love someone, you care about them, and you can't be out there physically. All you can do is provide that emotional and spiritual support. sometimes the emotional and spiritual support's great because a lot of people do not get that outside. We're living in such a fast world that's so implanted in technology that we forget about the I love yous and how you really doing today's. But I think what's really hard is not the ability not to give somebody a hug or not to buy them a gift or not to lift them up or help them cook or not to clean the dishes when they're done or those things. And I think for anybody that's locked up in the system of mass incarceration, I think, a lot of people feel empathy and feel sadness for us that we're locked up. But I think a lot of people need to know is we feel sadness that we're not out there with you to serve. We're not out there with you to give back. We're not out there with you to contribute to what you're doing today. And there's a sense of loneliness. We know this through science. Loneliness is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness will kill you, right? And it's not only people in the system of mass incarceration that are lonely. It's a lot of people out in our societies that are lonely as well, Rodney. A lot.
Absolutely. And many of those people are those to whom we love and left behind. And so that loneliness that you speak about, for me, has always been, not how I felt, but how my community felt and how my family felt, because the pain that I felt was different than the pain that they were forced to suffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they are forced to suffer, and we never, as prisoners, take a look at it from that lens, and that's important. So it's important for us to place ourselves in the shoes of our victims, our community, our parents, our brothers and sisters, our cousins and aunts, those people to whom we feel are deserving of that type of love and affection. And so that's where our loneliness comes from. Our loneliness comes from the fact that, we're not getting the letter, we're not getting we're not getting the mail, we're not getting the things, the gifts that you speak about. But I want to be able to get to a place where I'm not thinking about my loneliness because I am the one who inflicted
That's right.
that crime or criminal act, and so I put other people in a position that they didn't ask for, and so we as those who have committed criminal behavior may never truly grasp the impact that has on the people that we love in our communities and our victims. So when we hear victims having marches and screaming out and saying that, no, you're not hearing what I'm feeling. You can never replace what they have lost. You can
That's
never
right.
replace what they have lost. Whether that's a life or whether that's a moment of a Christmas gift.
That's right. That's right.
And so we have, and for me, that played a big role. That played a big role in me trying to really understand myself and trying to understand the position from people who were not like myself, because they didn't commit the crime. They didn't ask for what they got.
That's right.
I kind of wanted what I was seeking, so I was like, I'm gonna go out here and do this. I made those decisions and choices, right? And that pain and loneliness and sorrow and pain and hurt, they didn't ask for. They didn't deserve it, and they didn't deserve it. So that for me, those first few years in prison, that was like, a real quick wake up to say, hey, you know what, you better stop thinking about just you. And like I told you before when we had spoke, I had lied so much, and the very next day that finally decided to tell the truth, my grandmother passed.
That's right.
Now I can't give it back to her, and that can be a very painful thing when you're in prison facing the holidays.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And what stands out to me with what you just said, and it's exactly that. It's feeling First off, I have empathy for the dudes that I'm surrounded by because a lot of them, a lot of people are lonely. I just want to acknowledge people in the system that are lonely, that haven't necessarily come to terms with and taken ownership for the choices that they made that put them here, right? But being somebody that I feel like I've owned the choices that have put me here. I feel like I've taken responsibility for the choices that have put me here. I've taken ownership for them. And what that does, it gives me the true ownership that I have taken. It gives me a lot, exactly what you were speaking about, a lot of connection to the way that my mom is feeling right now. I have put that lady through heck, And I want to say this, somebody just got on and Terrell Robinson said, um, we didn't eat like that in prison. And man, I understand we didn't eat like this in prison until the commissioner got here. He made things happen for us. So we just had a meal. I got to see my brother, Rodney, for the first time in like 8 years. And holy cow, man, it was amazing. I had to, I went and gave him a hug and I had one of those things happen where I was just about to break loose and let it go, but I held on because my nephew was there and I hadn't seen my nephew. My nephew is turning 16 in January and I hadn't seen him in years, my friend. And, to see my mom come in to see us all together, I knew that really warmed her heart. But also, I know, like, even today, it's difficult for her. It's difficult for her, me not being there. And I know every single holiday that goes by, every single birthday that goes by, every single Sunday that goes by, because we used to do family dinners at my mom's, it affects her. And that same thing, it's like I'm done worrying about my shit, excuse my mouth, but I'm done worrying about it. I'm worried about people in society. I'm worried about my family in society, and I want to serve. And that's really where I want to serve. And this, is only so much we can do from a prison cell. There's only so much we can do from a prison cell. Thank God I am in Maine, and thank God I am under the leadership of Randall Liberty and Matthew Magnuson, because those gentlemen are really making things happen. And do we have hasty people here that are negative and say negative things? Yeah. But we have that all over the world. Essentially, we have a lot of opportunities here in Maine that other states do not have. And I am extremely, extremely, extremely grateful. And Paula Kensu, I'm sick and tired of my husband being stuck in prison. He shouldn't be in. He's wrongfully convicted. Paula, I'm sorry to hear that. I am so, so sorry to hear that. And I wish your husband was out. I've heard a little bit about your story before. I've read a little bit about it, and I am sorry from the bottom of my heart that your husband's going through that. And I'm sorry you're spending the holidays alone, my dear friend. I really am. Rodney, would it be okay to get coherent and just go run through and do a little bit of exercise? And maybe Paula, if you're listening and you're willing to, just run through a little exercise with us.
Absolutely.
And this is a heart math exercise that I'd like to share with you if it's okay. So just set up straight in your chair. And if you're listening at home, you can just set up straight in your chair wherever you're at. And just close your eyes and bring your attention to the area of your heart, breathing a little bit deeper and a little bit slower than before. Finding a rhythm that works for you. And if it helps, you can bring your right hand up to your heart, almost like you're pledging allegiance to the flag, just to activate your heart. Touching the heart sometimes activates it. And just begin breathing in and out through the heart. And see if you can find a feeling of love, compassion, of kindness, a regenerative feeling that you can recall and go back to. And once you find that feeling, let's send that out for each other. Let's send that out to Paula and her husband. Let's send that feeling out to all the men and women in the system of mass incarceration that are without their families. And let's send that feeling out to all the families that are without their loved one that's in prison. Couple more breaths here, in and out through the heart. And let's share that feeling with ourselves. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes and returning back to this place. Miss Paula, I'm just sending so much love to you. And I'm so, so sorry that I really do. I feel it deeply. I feel it deeply, 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 especially where your husband is wrongly convicted. I am so, so sorry that you are sitting at home alone on this Christmas Eve, but you have the love of all of us. You really do. And you sincerely, sincerely have our love. And I hope and pray that that love, it might not make things easier, but I hope that love at least comforts you a little bit more. And just sending you blessings, everybody on this call that's listening, everybody, sending you all love and just appreciation. It's like, I think one of the most difficult things I watch guys in here, they have Christmas cards. They come in and people sending cards. I told everybody on my, I don't know if you've done this, Rodney. I told everybody on my Christmas card list, I said, I'm not sending you cards this year. And they said, what? And I said, no, don't send me cards either. Send them to guys that might not get a Christmas card. Ask around and send them to people that might not get a Christmas card, not just in prison, but maybe in a nursing home or somewhere else, because there's a lot of people out there that don't get love and do not get attention at all. And they are the loneliest of the lonely. And that sense of human suffering, I wish that would go away. I really, really do. And that's an extreme, extreme level of suffering. Many of us avoid, we don't look at, we're afraid to look at it. We're afraid to deal with it. So today I go up and I get my meal, right? We walk up, we have this mile here, and I walk up the mile, and it's, you walk outside and you walk up to the chow hall. And since COVID, we haven't eaten in a chow hall. So we come back. So I had my holiday dinner by myself here in my cell tonight. And, I watch other guys eating together and all that good stuff happening out there. That's wonderful. And I appreciate it. But I also, it's amazing because you hear the negativity as well. And it's like, I didn't get enough meat or I didn't get this. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? We live in one of the most progressive states in the United States of America with food is concerned. There's people on the streets not getting fed like we're getting fed. And you have something to complain about. And I always try to foster, I know that you do this too, Rodney, and I know that you do it since you've been released, that attitude of gratitude. Mm-hmm. And if I can give you something that's going to make your day a little bit brighter, I try to do it. And, I try to do that with everybody I work with. I know you do that too. I see you in your pictures doing that. And any service work from you this holiday, my friend?
Yeah. First I want to say that I always extend my empathy and compassion to those who are wrongfully convicted, to their families, more importantly, because they are the ones who have to, kind of go through that. We go through it if you're wrongfully convicted and you don't want to be in the situation that you're in, but it's those people's families who paid a bigger price. And the statistics show that wrongful conviction rate is rising, right? And a lot of men and women are going to prison for things that they didn't do. But we also want to pay empathy and compassion towards those men and women who are still incarcerated, who have not yet come into the consciousness of change and transformation. That's important as well. Because they may be walking the yard and not really realizing that somebody cares about them, and whether it's your fellow prisoner or whether it's someone in society, and so that's been my mission. And so one of the things that Maria and I do is that once I was released is that I always want to give back to those people who have not yet come into that consciousness of change and transformation, or who have suffered in some type of unlawful way, whether it's through homelessness because affordable housing isn't available, or whether it's addiction, because there are not enough addiction centers for them to be admitted into. And so we want to be able to go out, and she cooks amazing meals. Maria, she's the best cook in the world. So she when we think about Gordon Ramsay, she's topping that. So right, and so the thing is, she cooks these meals, and I'm just trying to get in where I can get in, because I want to try to help out too, and she packs these meals, and she always says, I want them to be warm. I don't just want to be like, everybody else, and give them some food. It has to be, when they put it in their mouth, I want it to be warm. And so I think about like all of the times that, I ate that cold, very not so delicious jail, state, prison meal, right? And I'm getting that bologna sandwich or peanut butter or whatever it was at the time. And she's going out, and we're going out, and we're feeding these people who don't really have anything, right? And that's the compassion that we have to have. See, if you got it and you're conscious, then to give to you is really not a reward of fulfillment in that part of your life that you lacked at that time when you were in criminal thinking. So I have to give it to those people who just never really had someone to say, you know what, I know it's cold out here. I know it's a very bad day. Here's a jacket. Here's some beans and rice, or some food, or here, Merry Christmas. It takes nothing to say. And even if you were, you didn't believe necessarily in Christmas holidays, or Thanksgiving, or Kwanzaa, or whatever it might be, the other person receiving the blessing of your humbleness is important. It's important for your growth. It's important because that may be the one person that decides that day they want to change their life. If I just walk past them, then I'm doing a disservice to humanity, because that's the one person who can change the world, right? And so I have to be able to say, Merry Christmas. Hey, we love you. Hey, what can we do if it's anything that we can do at all? If anything, sometimes it's just the raw truth that I don't got no money in my pocket. But if I did, I would be more than willing to give it to you.
That's right. And sometimes, what's crazy, I've been trying to share this with my father for years. What's more important than money sometimes is just presence. I learned that in hospice, taking care of people that were end of life here at the prison. Nobody else was showing up for them. And sometimes, just like all of you on this call that took your time to be with us this evening, thank you so much. Your presence means the world. And, the work you're doing, Rodney, reminds me of my dear friend, Kevin Kelly. He was on the call earlier. Kevin, I don't know if you're still on the call, but thank you for the work that you're doing as well. It's freaking amazing. Vanessa, I see you. Goodness gracious, girlfriend. Merry Christmas to you, sister. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And it's amazing just the people that I have met in this space, Rodney, the people that have been incarcerated, the people that are giving back. It is so fascinating because there's so much love involved. I mean, it almost makes me emotional to think about the love and support that I have. Vanessa, I say this, and I probably will get a little emotional here. We did a presentation for Alliance for Higher Education, and Vanessa took her time and her resources. She flew out to Georgia for us to present, just to stand up there on the stage for us. And where do you get that kind of love? I mean, somebody that will take their time, their resources to fly out for you. And then the people that show up to the awakening every single month, you'll see it if you come on Thursday. It's incredible. And we don't charge people. We're We're not doing this for money. We're doing this to bring people together so people can have conversations and meet and build connections, and we can build a bigger heartbeat in this space. The problem and the challenge is, like many other spaces, people get involved with the space because they want to run a nonprofit and they want the grant dollars. And everybody's got boxing gloves out in the ring fighting for freaking grant dollars rather than just being present for people. That's what we should be really doing. It's like, yeah, my nonprofit's better than yours, that whacked out kind of mentality, when really it's no, it's like, I just want to love people. Goodness gracious, that's all we want to do is love people and give people our hearts and souls. And it reminds me, I was thinking about this earlier, like Nelson Mandela. I was like, I'm in prison, but think about Nelson Mandela, all the years he spent in prison, and spending the holiday season in prison can be emotionally and challenging experience for anybody. And if you think of like Daniel in the Bible or Ezekiel and the real life, I mean, real living, breathing life of somebody in our time, Nelson Mandela, holy Moses, Daniel, isolation and reflection. He was in the lion's den, right? Daniel was in the lion's den. Individuals in prison during the holidays, we feel that. We feel that sense of isolation. And it's a sense of feeling like we're in the lion's den sometimes. Daniel trusted, he had faith, and he trusted in the face of adversity. Somehow, if he stayed resilient, things would work out. He just stayed with it day after day. And I think of my man, Nelson Mandela, his long imprisonment, including during the holiday season, it really highlights his resilience and the power of hope and belief in a greater cause. And I think that is what you have going for you. I think that's what so many of my brothers and sisters in this space have going for them. They believe in something greater for themselves. They keep showing up day and day and day and day and day. They're grinding, sometimes not even giving themselves enough self-care because they're so invested in helping this space. And I think of the holidays, it's like, man, goodness gracious, we could all do a little bit better. We could all show up and show more kindness. And man, I'll tell you, Vanessa, what are you doing? Do you want to come up on stage? Because I'd love to hear from you. What are you doing? Do you want to come up on stage to say hello to us? I'm going to wait for her to throw up in the text, but go ahead, Rodney, share something, because I know you're about to explode with goodness.
Right. So I want to say that we not only those of us who have changed our lives want to continue to give in the best possible way in the space of transformation, reentry, and incarceration. But it was Nelson Mandela who said, don't credit me or kick me for the number of times that I've been down, but the one time that I got up. And so this is very important when we think about those people who are still in the lack of consciousness of change. Is that, we can continuously always say what we've done wrong, as prisoners and as society, because I'm in this space because I want humanity to change. I want all of us, whether we've been to prison or not been to prison, to revert back to our natural true selves and intentions for being here on earth. That is to be servants to each other, in the most positive and fruitful way, and to want for each other and want for you what I want for me. I want to spend the holidays with my family. I want to, walk down the street, hold hands with Maria. I want my children's and your children's to be able to laugh and play and change the narrative of all the fear shocking that we use. And I want to be able to say that I'm sorry for all of those things and all of those moments on Christmas Day that I was not able to do something for someone else. Now I'm able to do something for someone else, and it will always be someone who may have felt like I felt.
It's so beautiful, my dear friend. That's so. I'm going to come right back. I'm just going to take a short little break. And when we come back, Rodney, I'd like to dive into some of your most profound experiences in Christmas. I'd like to share a couple of mine. And I'd like to hear from maybe somebody in the audience that went up today that maybe served some time. Or maybe if you're a loved one of somebody in prison, maybe you have some favorite memories that you'd like to come in and share. We'll be back here in a couple of minutes. I just want to show and allow you to see what's coming up here on the 28th. Sending you all much love. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Matthew Clark here, and I am so excited to announce to you the Awakening Exchange on December 28th, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Be there. This is going to be an amazing event. The Honorable Aisha Brave Boy, State's Attorney for Maryland, a woman who is making remarkable changes and working on remarkable changes for the system of mass incarceration in Maryland. She's going above and beyond, and she is a trailblazer in many different ways. Aisha Brave Boy is following suit with what we're doing here in Maine. She is an incredible human being. She's excited to share with the Awakening family, and I am excited to interview her. What I want to share with each and every one of you, what's going to happen at this amazing exchange. What is going to occur, some of the things that will come up that you have seen come up. I want to let the cat out of the bag a little bit and share with you what we're doing. What makes me so excited about this exchange is when we come together, we operate by asking questions. We don't feel like we have all the answers. In fact, that's why we bring people together, so we can have a collective experience. And through the questions that we ask, things will be unlocked for you individually, relationally, and communal. And I think what is really, really, really important, you will notice some things right here. You will notice some things in your heart that you didn't know were there before. And that's the power of the exchange. That's the power of the Awakening Exchange. We want to bring people together to have an experience for answers to be unlocked collectively. I bet you're sitting there and you think you have all the answers, and that's okay. A lot of people do. But the reality is when we work together and when we share experiences and when we have conversations, man, miracles happen. And that's what the Awakening is. It's an opportunity for miracles to happen. And we hope you're there on the 28th to experience some miracles with us, with the Honorable Aisha Brave Boy, and we have some special guests I'm not going to tell you about just yet, but some guests that I think you'll be really excited to see. So thank you each and all. I wish you the very best, and I'm wishing you all a happy holiday, whatever that looks like for you. Many blessings, and remember, it's all about the gratitude that we hold, and it's all about forgiveness and letting go. Moreover, it's all about love, love, love. Thank you all. We look forward to seeing you at the Awakening Exchange on December 28th, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Be there or be square. Thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. And we do hope to see you on December 28th. It is going to be a magnificent event. Aisha Brave Boy, state representative, state attorney from Maryland, will be there talking about her efforts for criminal justice and prison reform in the state of Maryland. They're working on several changes that are actually really, I think, motivating, really pioneering, and also, I think, really healing. So if we see you there, it will be a blessing. If we don't see you there, hey, I can't. I'll tell you about it after. Rodney, I know I'll see you. So with that being said, what is an experience that you've had? Like, let's talk about Christmas. Like, what has really stood out for you in Christmas? What is really like, what's one experience? We'll toss it back and forth here. What's one experience you had that really meant the world to you when you were in the system?
When I was in prison, I think the greatest experience I had, the greatest joy that I felt was one Christmas. We were on lockdown. I was in Pelican Bay. We couldn't get out. As many people know, here in California, Pelican Bay is the most dangerous prison in the history of time. That's Guantanamo Bay to California. So and everybody is always against each other. It's just like, whether it's racial dissension or us against the guards or us against each other, it was just horrific. But on this particular Christmas, we all, we had said that we were going to go to the yard and, we're just going to do our normal, routines that we did. You're in the cycle of, of incarceration. You're just going through the motions and the process. But it was that on that day, we had decided that we were all going to get along that day. That we were all going to bring something from our cell to cook. Something, a snack or something. And we were just going to have one huge, massive on the yard spread. They call them spreads in prison. That's, you and your friends, you get together, you get your chili beans, your pork rinds, your meat logs or whatever, right? And, you put it in a plastic bag and, you do what you do, right? But it wasn't the food. It wasn't, it was the fact that, all races had decided on this day that we were just gonna, we weren't gonna fight and be at each other's throat. We weren't against the guards. We weren't against each other. We were just today. We're just gonna, this is our, concert of the year. That we were just gonna enjoy ourselves. And that and it was just a moment that you would rarely ever see in prison, like in a California prison. It's something that you would just never see, that everyone was so united on that particular day. And what made it special is that it was unplanned. So it was like we didn't all sit and say, okay, when we go to the yard today, this is what we're gonna do. It was just some kind of reason or way. It just overcame everybody, and everybody started getting together with their groups. Hey man, let's do this. Let's show a sense of solidarity for once, right? And solidarity means a lot to a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. And so in this one moment of act, let's just all come together and just have a good day.
Oh wow, that's absolutely and positively incredible. And ladies and gentlemen, what he's referring to is a trash bag stew, in case you didn't know. What we do is we take our ramen noodle soups and we smash them down, and we will dump them into a bag with some Cheetos. This is no joke. And they take the most carcinogenic meat you can imagine in the world. This stuff is so preserved, you could probably put it away for 20 to 30 years and come back and eat it. We put that meat together in a bag, and sometimes you season the meat. They'll get a little creative, and they'll put the meat in like Dr. Pepper or something to sweeten it up and reduce the Dr. Pepper down. And then you'll throw other stuff in the bag, stuff that you save from the chow hall. And then you make a cook, like you put it all in there with the hot water. You'll have the rice in there. You'll let it heat up. You wrap it up in towel so it cooks. and then you serve it up with some hot sauce or whatever they serve. Some prisons don't have hot sauce, but I can see the whole yard doing that. That's amazing.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that, my dear friend. I think mine is, we had our yoga instructors, Pierce and Jessica, husband and wife. They ran Liberation Institute, and same thing. We were locked down that December, and the short staff, and they came into the prison in the yoga squad. We knew they were going to be coming in. They asked to come in, and they came in for a yoga practice, and we decorated the room. We found these red skirts. I don't know where we found them. We found them somewhere, but we decorated the room with these skirts. We put like all these different Christmas supplies. We got into a back closet is what happened in education. So we got like all these sparkly things, and all these different red pieces of cloth, and we put them up all around the room, and we had Christmas music playing. We had some coffee. People made fudge. Was it a fudge a big thing in your prison that you were at?
Yeah, we didn't have fudge.
Yeah, they're always making fudge here, taking peanut butter with sugar and making it, cooking it in the microwave. That's like a huge thing. So somebody made some fudge, and we had a bunch of hot cocoa, but it was really amazing, just like coming together and being together and feeling like we were in that space. And it's not every day that you have that here in the system. But recently, what Maine has been doing that's amazing is these family meals. I mean, to sit down and eat dinner, it was a 4 or 5 hour visit. To be able to sit down and have dinner like that, Rodney, with my family, oh my God, talk about mind-blowing stuff that just would make a grown man cry, really. After being in here for 18 years and not having dinner with my mom, during college graduations, they'd let us have a little meal. But I'll tell you what, there's something really remarkable being able to sit down and break bread with your family. And really, really just incredible, the job that they're doing here. And I hope, that's what I hope. I've been sharing this for a while. Like prisons, prisons are so known for, like, just like you were saying, the gang violence, the crazy stuff, us versus them, the shower scenes of like 50 Cent's Get Rich, Die Trying, or the laundry scene in Shawshank Redemption where somebody's getting hurt, raped, or killed. But there's a lot of goodness coming out of prisons. There's a lot of good people coming out of prisons. There's a lot of heart. I've seen a lot of change. My dear friend Desmond Perry, serving LWOP, got out of prison now, just an extraordinary man helping people in Maryland. Kevin Kelly, out in California, going on the streets, taking his own money just like you and helping the homeless. I see people, Cardell Sims, giving back in reentry all over the world, going to 100 different prisons across the United States to give back and spread the message. Mary Cohen, I see you on this call. Don't think I don't. You have other people out there that are supporting us in prisons, like Mary Cohen. She brought a music program into Iowa. You have Vanessa, oh my gosh, out in California, just doing so much work. There's some of the most resilient, I'm sure you feel this way, most resilient, incredible people I've ever met in my life have been in the system of mass incarceration. And I think what happens is we really get humbled. I mean, when you go in front of the court system, I just want to share this with everybody. When I went in front of the court system and I share my life, share my case, share my vulnerability, share everything, and I get ripped apart. You get ripped apart by the state, and they tell you what a monster you are and that you're not redeemable and that you'll never amount to anything and you're going where you belong. They deflate you. They take it out. It's not about redemption. It's not about forgiveness. It's about deflating you and really turning you into somebody, like dehumanizing you. And they do it in such a way that you get to prison. I'll tell you what, if you don't have a lot of inner determination, it's so easy to fall into a place of depression and end up in the med line. There is so many people in the med line every day. It is sad. So the court beats you down. You get into the system. You don't feel like you believe in yourself. And you get here, and it takes so much resiliency. It takes so much to Like you just said earlier, Rodney, I wanted to understand myself better. That was my story. I wanted to understand myself better. And then you have roadblock after roadblock after roadblock when you come into the system and work through the system. There's always somebody that is hating on you. There's always somebody that's jealous. There's always somebody that, once you no longer meet the definition of what a, think about this one, Rodney. Once you no longer meet the definition of what a prisoner looks like, you become somewhat of a threat to people. You become somewhat of a challenge to people, so they don't know what to do with you. And I see that time and time again as well. I see our brothers and sisters really excelling in the system of mass incarceration. They become a threat to the system. And then we go through and we do our time, and we pay our time, and we pay our dues, and we reform, and we get out, and it's the same thing. Like the political stances. You've done a good job, son. But if I apply for a job at your office, what are you gonna say? No, we can't have you here. Or if I apply for early release, or I apply for, there's always that thing that comes up. But what I want to say is I believe in the system, and I believe it's changing. I believe the work that we're doing, the narrative that we're putting out there, I believe the work that you're doing. Were you, tell me this, did they tell you you were a monster?
Oh, always.
All
I,
right.
I still hear it to this day.
Oh.
It's to this day is that, when you've made mistakes, as bad as I've made mistakes, then they will always say, it's just put him in the right position or circumstance, and he will go back to who he was or how he thought. For me, then that's just a part of what comes with the territory of change. It comes with knowing that myself, that I won't go back. Is placing me in those most horrendous conditions that they believe will take me back. Because it goes back to what you were saying, is that while you're in that whole little bad space, right? It meets their needs. It meets their needs to live in the idea of society shock. Like that Howard Stern stuff. We got to scare the public, right? Because for you to tell the public that change is possible goes against everything that you have always said, is that they will go back to who they were if you just let them, put them in a bad situation, right? And so now we're in a space and time where, we talk that change is coming, but it becomes now cliche in a campaign slogan. It becomes an idea that you really don't feel from your heart. Because like you say, when I apply for corporate management, or if I apply for these types of jobs or housing that you had pledged that you would offer and afford to me, give to me upon my release if I change, now it becomes an issue about, well, your credit score isn't high enough, or you didn't have the right home history, or we hired someone else, but we did take your application. Right? We did consider you, and so now you're doing the back. Oh, I have hired a person before, or I have done this before, but there's just still much work to be done. One thing I can say that Governor Gavin Newsom here in California is doing an excellent job when it comes to addressing Second Chance Act, but there's always much more that can be done. There's almost as much time and effort that we place in creating that biased belief that that in the subconscious, that will they really be the people who they used to be, or we need to get rid of that idea, and the only way to do so is to give the opportunities so that people can see that's tangible and real. That when I look up and I see somebody in corporate America that comes from a space that I've come from, now I begin to believe that that's possible. And so, especially during the holiday seasons, when we're in a real place of giving, right? So if you want to give, and you want transformation and lowering recidivism and these things for which I advocate for, then my suggestion would always be that what is wrong with sitting, standing, or walking with the very people to whom you say you are trying to change? What's wrong with
Oh, I love
being on the White House lawn with President Joe Biden and Joe Biden saying, you know what? Yes, these people have changed their lives, and they deserve to be included in the conversation. Because if we're not included in the conversation, then the conversation is only based on what you believe, not what you
That's right.
see. And you see,
That's
you see that he's out there feeding the homeless. You see that she's out there caring for her children. You see that they are giving back to their victims. You see that the system is no longer as violent as it used to be. And when you see these things, you believe these things. So if you don't see them, then you're just going to believe what it is, that old cliche idea that you believe. And I'm not saying that it wasn't true at the time. I'm just saying that it's 2023, about to be 2024, and we need to start with a new narrative when it comes to the ideas of change.
well, Rodney, that's exactly, and brother, I am vibing with everything that you're saying, and hopefully, I pray that's exactly what we're doing. We're contributing to that new narrative, because we think about what prisons are. I always ask this question, and I'll say it to everybody in the audience right now. When you think of Nike, what do you think of? Just go ahead and put it in the, if you can. When you think of Nike, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of? And put it in the chat box. I'd like to see a couple of your response to see what comes up immediate for you. Mary Cohen, when you think of Nike, what do you think of? What comes to your mind immediately? Capitalism. You're actually on point, Mary. I have another friend of mine. She's a saint as well, and she said, "Just do it." Coach Yoli, how are you? It's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Overpriced shoes made by children. Thank you. We have some pretty heartfelt people on this call, which I love. I had a friend, she said sweatshops as well, because she's been there. But usually the response that you hear is just do it. You hear Michael Jordan, you hear swoosh, you hear basketball, you hear sports. In the same thing, you swoosh, exactly. So when you think of prisons, if you didn't know Rodney and I, when you think of prisons, what do you think of? What comes into your consciousness immediately? And a lot of people, I won't steal the thunder from you all, but a lot of people will say, I think of suffering. I think of pain. I think of concrete. I think of crime. I think of bad people. And all these things come up, and that's what our consciousness has been programmed to think and believe. But I love what my dear friend from Sweden said. He said, I think of opportunities. I think of opportunities for people to change and to change their lives around. And I really believe that this has been the greatest opportunity of my life, to change my life around, to become a better person. And that's what we all have to see, and we all have to start believing, because if we believe that, if we believe the system can be a true place of transformation and change, we can change the system. But we need to have that belief in our mind. And I believe that with my heart of hearts. And I think that if incarceration was more intentional, incarceration was more about healing versus just punishment, lock them up and throw away the key and calling my man Rodney a monster and me a monster, there'd be much more ability for people to change their lives around, and much more ability for people that are falsely accused to be released. Goodness gracious. And instead of seeing the person as the worst thing they've ever done in their life, we can see that person as just another person, a human, somebody that is redeemable, and they're better than that worst choice they've ever made. Rodney, what do you think, my friend?
Well, I think that when it comes to, like I said, you can call me a monster. You can call me a monster. but I guess I guess if that makes you feel good, and I continue to be the good guy, then I guess good guys are monsters. You know, so you you know, and then I need to embrace being a monster because I'm doing the
That's
right
right.
thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm making the decisions that are necessary to continue my transformation and growth, and I'm doing the work that needs to be done to continue the transformation and growth of others. So again, if that's the bad guy, then shout out to the bad guy. Uh,
That's
so
right.
so, and I just wanted to go back, because it's during the holiday season, and we're talking about, the good things, the nature of good feelings and moments, and I wanted people to know that, it wasn't just good moments in prison. So, one of the moments that really affected me and changed my life when I got out of prison is that, um, you see the Christmas tree in the background. I never had a Christmas tree. Let me just say that. My grandmother had one when I was a little kid, but at that age, all you want to know is what's under the tree. You don't really, recognize the tree. And so, uh, my fiance Maria, we went out and I was able for the first time in my life. It was like the first time I ever voted. I think the first time in my life I was ever able to like cut the tree down and pick it out and smell. You don't really. I mean, for people who've been in the world, that what I'm saying really ain't all that. But for somebody who spent 33 years of his life in prison and never really seen or really experienced that, just the smell of a pine cone or just the smell of the greenery of the tree itself, that really, really, really meant something to me because it was almost as if I had arrived, like I had reached like the pinnacle of life. And I don't, what I'm saying. So I don't want people to get, that's just those experiences that you long for. That's what drove us to do like the things that we did in our criminal lifestyle is that we long for a sense of hope and acceptance and love and appreciation and not really having all of those things in that way. So we turn to those people who gave it to us, right? And so so I'm pleading with society. I'm pleading with humanity as a whole, globally, to embrace that giving of love and affection and compassion and empathy that we really deserve in our society. Because that's where the growth and change, that's where the cutting of the Christmas tree and the going out to vote and bringing and creating a better world. Not let's let if there's a challenge to be put out, let me put this challenge out. Let's not even do it for ourselves. Let's do it for those people who will follow after we're long and gone. Those children who are living in communities who are suffering or learning from the acts from which we do. If we want our world a better world, then let us be the example. That's all I'm asking. Let's challenge humanity to do that. Let's challenge our politicians in all spaces, in all continents and in countries to want to do the right thing because it is necessary for humanity to continue in the growth process of compassion. Be a humble servant.
That's well said, my dear friend. That's well said. And I couldn't have said that better myself. Being a humble servant speaks so much volume, and I just believe giving back and giving our hearts and being part of the solution versus the problem is exactly what we've needed for a long time. And I say that to my friends that are getting educated. Second chances. We got Richard Swinger that just made a good point, and then I'll just finish mine. He said second chances narrative. Let me see if I can get it up here. Second chances is the new narrative. It's a good one. However, second chances need to be earned. not automatically given. Well, Richard, thank you. I mean, that's absolutely and positively the choice. I would hate to think we're just giving things away for free. I would also like to think that who are we? It's like, who am I to judge somebody? I can't judge somebody's reality by my standards. And also, what I think needs to be at the forefront of consciousness is, of course, public safety, making sure, that nobody's a threat to society any longer. But I'm not going to judge somebody's reality by my standards. At the same time, I have diligently worked these past 18 years. I've earned an associate's degree, two bachelor's degrees, a master's degree. I'm working on a PhD. I've helped over 1,700 people in here. I have umpteen professional certifications, and that's not doing anything. They're not allowing me to earn the second chance just yet, but I'll tell you this, in my heart, I know I've earned the second chance and I'm ready for it. So when I'm released and when I'm given that chance to get back out in society, I'm going to be out there with Rodney, helping serve meals, helping speak, do public speaking, and helping uplift communities through lived experience and being of service. And I love what he just said, because that's exactly what we need. Everybody, action and being of service isn't a noun. It's a verb. It's a verb being in action and helping other people. And we have so many people that they talk about it, but they're not about it. And Mary Cohen, who's on this call, is a really prime example. She went into the Iowa prison system for a long time, brought an amazing music program in there. I mean, she teamed up some folks with folks in prison to make music and make songs, and they did that. They successfully recorded music with prisoners, with incarcerated residents, and a lot of magic came from that. And now Mary Cohen, I'm not sure if things have changed, but she couldn't go back into the prison system. They changed the prison system. There was too much good being done by that. And I think that's what we need to do collectively. We all need to stand behind each other. So when things like that happen, we can actually keep the doors open for the goodness to take place, because that's part of the service work, right? And I think that's part of the heartbeat. And man, that's so powerful, Rodney. So powerful.
Yeah. So the gentleman said that he believes in second chance, and second chances have to be earned. I totally agree with that. I totally agree that you do not release someone who hasn't changed, right? And I totally,
That's right.
I totally agree with you not offering opportunity for people who have not put in the work, because that's what we ask for of our residents in society, that for you to put in the work to get the things that you want in life. But the question becomes, who and what are we going to do when those people do in fact put in the work, change their lives, and yet still are denied the opportunity of their freedom, those liberties that we say that we stand for and fight for? When you say that a young man or a woman goes in the prison system at 19, spends 5 years being the bad guy, and the next 25 years being good and doing all of the changes and taking all of the classes and going through all of the courses and being that person from which they asked to be, and yet still is told no. Because we as society just don't want to acknowledge or accept that person has actually changed their lives, right? And we need to start standing up for that stuff. If we say, I believe in second chance, and we say that if the person changes his life, and we look at Mr. Clark, who's doing great work over in Maine, and many people who are doing great work in different states, and they doing what is necessary to be free, why do we choose to hold them back? Because their lives can change other lives. They become the instrument, the lightning rod for people who are seeking to know what change looks like from a lens that they come from, not from a lens of what society says should be. So we're that's what we're asking. We're saying that if in fact I have changed my life, and you say that I should change my life, then the other person who needs to change their life, what is he
Richard,
to look at?
go ahead. You just broke up a little bit.
What is he
No,
to
you're
look?
absolutely making. What's that, Rodney?
I'm saying, what
What was
if I change my life and a person behind me is trying to change their life, and the only thing he has to look at is a suggestion from someone who has never faced that to change his life? What is he to look at? We have to show them something.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
We have to see them in corporate America. We have to see them in politics. We have to see them in workplaces, spaces where they say, "Hey, I can change." That person changed, because that's what I did. I seen some people change their life, and I was like, okay, they kind of did the same stuff I did, and now it must be that I can do that too. And that's what and some people gave me the opportunity to do that, to say, you know what, he deserves a shot. Let's see how it works. And that's all people are asking for, to want for them what you would want for yourself, or if it was your child. We all say it will never happen to my child, but we're asking, if it does happen, are you going to afford them the same opportunities and wants that you would do for them?
That's right. You're absolutely right, my dear friend. And he made a really good point. Richard Swinger, that I love your point. He said some people do 33 years and want to experience a Christmas tree. Others do 33 years and they're full of bitterness. Christmas and the joint is a mixed bag. I suppose it really depends on the prison you are in, your security level. Some prisons are dark, some are full of pizza parties and family days. I've done both types of time, hard in the 80s and much different than some approaches to incarceration today. Dear Richard Swinger, my friend, would you like to come up on stage? And if you do, just throw something in the chat box. I'll send you a little thing to bring you up. I'd love to hear from you. And I just want to say this, you're absolutely right. I went over the other day, they give away like a couple little coffee things and a couple candy canes and some cocoa for Christmas. So I walked over to say hi to everybody the other day, and I see a guy that's been here for years, and I said, "Hey, how you doing today?" And he didn't say anything, and I said, they have a canteen here, and I said, "Is the canteen open?" He goes, and he swore at me. He goes, "Does it fucking look like it's open?" And I said, "Hey man, I was just asking if it was open. I'm sorry." And this is a guy that has everything. He lives in the earned living unit. He's in school right now. He's got a laptop. He's got it pretty made in here. He's got everything made. And he's responding to people like that with bitterness and anger. You're absolutely right. In contrast, there's another guy here that I know that I went out to group with the other night. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't even have money to call home, and he's happy-go-lucky. He's always smiling. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? How's the day going? How's things?" And it's all about Richard Swinger. You're absolutely right. It's all about mindset, my dear friend. And when I say it's all about mindset, it's all about the way we think about things. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. We know that from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and we know that from experience as well. It's so important that we really look at things a lot differently. And for me, and I know this about you, Rodney, as well, it's so important to look at areas where I can give back and I can support other people. And when I'm struggling, I got to tell you this, I have a coach that I work with. I think she's on the call, but she always puts things in perspective for me. And I have good support around me. I have good human connections around me that really, really, really uplift me and hold me to a higher level and a higher standard. And I think that's important. The connections, those that we hold closest to us and those that we surround ourselves with, are a reflection of who we are. The behaviorist Kirk Llewellyn said it best. He said behavior is a function of the people in the environment that you put yourself in. And if we just think about that for 1 second, behavior is a function of the person and the environment that we put ourselves in. So just think about that for 1 second. And environments really do. They can and do dictate our behavior a whole lot. They really do. Because if it's a harsh and violent prison, you have to adapt to survive. If there's gangs around, if it's brutality all the time, you have to adapt and survive to that, unfortunately. And if it's a soft prison, well, some people get soft. And I love that notion. I heard a guy talk about it. He talked about the coffee bean. He said, if you put carrots in water, what happens, Rodney?
When you put what? I didn't hear you.
When you put carrots in water, what happens? When you put carrots in water, what happens?
I'm not sure.
They get soft. Think about absolutely. it. They get soft, right? When you put eggs in water, what happens?
If you boil them, they get hard. But many different things can happen.
They get hard. Okay. Well, let's talk about the truth and the reality about what happens. If you put eggs in hot water, they get hard. If you put carrots in hot water, they get soft. If you put, check this out. If you put coffee in water, what happens?
You get Starbucks.
Well, you get Starbucks, but you change the water, right? It changes, the water changes. It's not
color contrast.
You can't separate that unless you go through some scientific separation process, right? Mm-hmm. So point being, we come into prison and some people get really hard. They get really, really they turn out, they become really, really bitter and angry. They become really hard in life. And on the other hand, you come into prison, some people get really soft. They softened up, they tell, they turn this, they get into drugs, they get into other things, right? They soften up. On the other hand, some people, and I believe this with my full heart, we have the ability to change the prison system. We have that ability. We can change the environment if we work hard and diligently enough at it. But that's the thing. We have to do it mindfully. But the challenge here that I'm finding is, man, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Everybody wants their own ideas. Everybody wants to be the man. Everybody wants to lead at something. Everybody wants to flourish. Everybody wants to, and because everybody wants to, nobody's working together. And you know who wants to work together more than anybody else is the underdog. It's the guys that have everything. They don't want to work together. And it's so bizarre to me. Have you experienced that?
Oh, yeah. It's many times where people do not want to work together. And again, that goes back to what are we willing to do? What are we willing to do? Even when those individuals, be they incarcerated or not incarcerated, willing to do when that occurs. When you look at politics and you take the Democrats and the Republicans, there's many times where they have disagreements. There's many times when they don't want to work and I'm just not going on this side of the aisle and we're not placing this vote. But at some point, we all come together to make a common decision about what's right. So we just have to be patient, and we just have to have the understanding that when you're in consciousness, you already know that there's somebody who's going to disagree. You already know that somebody not going to want to see you succeed. You already know that somebody is going to be against second chance or forgiveness or redemption. We know these things. It's what we're willing to do when those things occur in our lives. That's one of the things that when you're a prisoner or in criminal thinking and you're asked to change your life or you make the decision to change your life, then they say, oh, well, he'll go back to his old behavior, or she will go back to her old behavior. Okay, what am I going to do when I'm faced with that? What am I going to do when somebody offers me drugs or tells me that here's a gun, let's go commit a robbery, or let's break into someone's home, or let's create more chaos in our society? What am I going to do then? Am I going to stand up and say, no, I made the decision that I will no longer do that anymore, just because you do it, or just because you think it, or just because you feel that it's the right thing to do at the time? No, I don't have to do that no more. I do not have to follow behind someone else's idea of what I believe or they believe to be right or wrong. I need to make that conscious decision that no, there is nothing that you can say or do that will convince me that going back to prison is an option, that creating havoc or harm to my fellow American is an option. That those are things that I willingly choose to no longer do. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be. You can say whatever you want to say, and you can tell whoever you want to tell. You can even indoctrinate it and falsely address it into where I'm in prison wrongfully, but it's still not going to change the fact that I will not do anything that is against the compassion of humanity and doing the right thing. That's my integrity. So what your integrity is your choice, your decision.
No, that's I gotta just say that's really, really well said. And you just laid that out beautifully and perfectly. So you're absolutely right. We all have a choice. And I see it. I love when you just said that, because it just made me relate to like 15 people, 20 people. So there's so many people, they go through trials and tribulations. And what do? They just say, F it, right? They throw up their hands, F it. And then they go back to the old behavior. But this is the truth. This is the real truth. They never really changed. What they were showing, they were just showing the stage character they wanted the world to see. So when challenges come up, I think that's really what defines the man or the woman. We have things that come up in our lives that feel like the world's closing in on us or the world's shutting down on us. But the way that we handle those events, the way that we stay resilient, the way that we keep standing up tall, that's what defines our character. It's not these really beautiful, wonderful little nice things that we do here and there when people are looking. It's what we do all the time and how we're living our lives when nobody's looking. And man, I think that's so important, Rodney. Thank you for bringing that up. Richard Swinger, if you're coming up on the stage, I'd love to have you. Rodney's going to be leaving. Ladies and gentlemen, Rodney's leaving. Rodney, thank you for being with us this evening. Much love, much respect to you. Thank you for the hard work. Miss Maria, thank you for what you're doing. They're going out to feed the homeless on Christmas right now. She's not feeling good, and they're still going out. And before you leave, we have to answer the question that Mary Cohen posed. Is that a Barbie tree?
Oh, no, that's a very real tree. That Maria picked out. She drug home one day while I was at work, and I was like, "We're gonna go pick a tree." And I came home, and holy moly, there was another Christmas tree. This is the third Christmas that I've had since I've been released, and so we decorated it with our grandchild, and it was her first time being able to put ornaments on the tree as well. So that was very exciting for me to see her. At such a young, 4 years old, able to do such a great thing. Like, it just burst my heart with joy to see someone at such a young age being able to do those things. And before I leave, I just wanted to thank everybody who's participating and watching or may see this and at a later date. That my love and respect and compassion, as Maria's, always goes out to those people who have been forced unjustly to suffer some form of pain due to the victimization administered by someone like myself in the past. And so I humbly apologize for that. And I humbly apologize for those people who have not yet come into their own consciousness, because they one day will, if we continue to give them the type of attention that they need in changing their lives. And to all of those men and women to whom are incarcerated, be that wrongfully or not, may our prayers continuously go out to you and continuously extend our humblest, most respect with love and compassion. So everybody have a wonderful night. Let's continue to change the narrative and do and make the decisions that are right for all of the world.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being with us this evening. Much love to you. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Thank you very, very much. And we have that just joined us, Mr. Richard Swinger. I'm excited about finally having Mr. Swinger up and having a conversation with him. He has a lot of powerful and wonderful things to say. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Swinger. Richard, how are you?
I'm good, Stephen. Listen, it's swagger. There's no end in my
swagger.
Swagger, like tiger.
Swagger,
yeah.
like a
swagger.
All right,
like
swagger.
Yeah.
Tiger,
hey,
swagger.
Listen, I jumped on tonight because I saw the invite. I saw what you guys were talking about. I listened to your friend, and I can identify with a lot of what was said. And let me just tell you a little bit about myself. So. I work for Prison Fellowship. I was the state director for Prison Fellowship Ohio for 4.5 years. Now I work as a program manager at Grafton Correctional. I operate a Tier 2, 14-month character development course, Prison Fellowship Academy, in a unit at Grafton Correctional, where I lead 40 to 45 men annually through 12 to 14 months of character development and criminogenic change. Kind of trying to change the way they think about life, and look at things like overcoming entitlement. You can't get away with everything. Talking about topics such as overcoming anger, mastering anger, things like that. Are you still with me? Because you're gone now.
I'm still with you. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's interesting that I actually work at Grafton Correctional, because I actually used to live at Grafton Correctional, and I can like lean over my desk and see a cell that I used to live in. And I'm a restored citizen who did 18 years in prison. I at the age of 2, had a sister die in a bed next to me from neglect. I went through the Massachusetts foster system. I was in and out of foster homes for a period of about 3 years. At the age of 6, I ended up in a group home until I was 12. At the age of 13, I committed my first felony arrest. At 16, my father was murdered in an arson fire. And then I was off and running through the streets of Massachusetts and around Boston, Massachusetts. Crack cocaine came on the scene around 1987, 88, 89. I did my first number in 87. And then, for a period of about 10 years, I chased cocaine. And in 1996, I found my feet standing in a convenience store in Zanesville, Ohio, with my finger in my pocket, threatening the clerk to blow his brains out if he didn't give me the money. And of course, when you do that, when you threaten people, they have a place for you. And I quickly learned that Ohio was a lot more severe in their sentencing than Massachusetts. And I ended up getting a 4 to 15 year sentence in the Ohio system. I opened up Noble Correctional, which is Southern Ohio. I opened that up in 1996. I did 5.5 years of shooting tattoos and playing handball and eating ramen noodles and standing at the microwave and being angry. And after 5.5 years of that nonsense, I got out and went right back to doing what I was doing before I went in. I just got out angrier and bigger. I could do more push-ups, and I was more manipulative and played the victim and blamed everybody in the whole world for my problems. And within 8 months of my release, I was facing a life sentence for 2 aggravated burglaries, a kidnapping, and a robbery. I broke in a garage to steal tools. There was a woman living on the second floor of that occupied structure. I told her during that home invasion, I said, sit down and shut up. Of course, when you do that, that's a different crime all of its own. And I'm very sorry for the things that I did. I went back into prison after facing a life sentence. I went back in for 9 years, and I got a degree out of Ashland University. I quit hanging around the handball court. I stopped hanging around with gang members and knuckleheads. I quit drinking hooch. I stopped smoking pot and cigarettes, and I started to read the Bible and pay attention to what God was telling me. And today, I'm a father of 3 beautiful children. I have an 11-year-old boy. I have a 10-year-old boy. I have a 6-year-old. We just celebrated Christmas, not 200 feet from here. I'm in an office outside of my farm. And, we've got pigs and we've got ducks and chickens and we've got 6 acres. And let me tell you something. I married the daughter of the chaplain of the county jail that I went through. And that's a whole story and a miracle in and of itself. But when I hear people talking about second chances, when I hear people talking about prison and things, I have some takes on that. And one of the things I'll tell you is that our justice system isn't broken. I know that's contrary to popular talk. People like to say, well, the justice system is so broken and everybody's treated unfairly and everything else. So let me tell you something. We have one of the greatest justice systems in the world. It's not broken. It's lazy. It's lazy. I could write a whole book on how lazy it is. And it's inadvertently, unavoidably lazy because it doesn't have enough people to take a look at each independent case. When the Lucasville riots happened in 1993, that resulted in a lot more unit management and a lot more case management, but you still don't have enough employees in the ODRC to oversee 50,000 plus inmates on an annual basis. And so there's people slipping through the cracks who never get heard, who never get a case manager to sit down with them and unravel the mysteries of what's going on in their hearts and minds, and to really take a look. And some people deserve second chances. Some people, like when I was locked up, I tried to talk to the case manager a number of times, and they never had the time of day for me. I was ignored. And yet, who knew that I would get out of prison and return back as one of the first employees at Grafton as a returned citizen? I mean, who knew? But they never wanted to listen to me. I was brushed aside, and it's just that way for some people. And then other people, God love them, I hope they never let out. There's some people that are monsters in there that even though we want to coddle and say everybody deserves second chances and normalcy and everybody deserves a carpet and a couch and everything. Look, there's some people in there that just want to take advantage. They want to manipulate. They're broken. And, we talk about rehabilitation, but some people, you've heard, rehabilitation. Some people have never been habilitated in the first place to be rehabilitated. And that's just my take.
But brother, I'm with you. I've been in now. This is my 18th year in the system of mass incarceration, right? I live in a maximum security prison here in Maine, and I've seen it all. I've seen those that have worked diligently, passionately, and methodically to change their lives. And on the other hand, I've seen those that just lay in their bed and play PlayStation all day long, or they play games, they gamble, and they go to the gym and lift weights. They're on the handball court, exactly what you said, but they're not doing anything to take ownership and responsibility for the choices that landed them in the system of mass incarceration in the first place.
Absolutely.
And it's not because they don't have the opportunities. I say this to guys in the Maine State Prison all the time that are screaming and hollering about they don't have whatever it is. And I say back to them, we live in a state, the opportunity is prime. You can do anything you want to do if you set your mind to it. I am probably one of the only people in the United States of America that can sit in my prison cell and do a podcast because of
That's really interesting. I had no idea that you were locked up, Stephen. So where are you, at the Maine Correctional Complex?
I'm at the Maine State Prison in Warren, Maine. I'm under the leadership of Randall Liberty and Matthew Magnuson. For my PhD, I've earned my associate's, 2 bachelor's, a master's degree, and now I'm working on my PhD. My PhD is in ways we can utilize technology to help heal the broken system of mass incarceration. And what do I mean by utilize technology to heal the system? What I mean is we can create human, communal, spiritual, and financial capital while somebody's still in and promote healing. So just exactly what I said, behavior is a function of the person and the environment that they're in. Well, if we stick to the same social group that we've been part of our whole lives, if I'm expected to learn in here, so I go to school and I learn with other people in here, and it's the same ideas being thrown around all the time. I need to learn from professionals that are out there. I need to learn from people like you that have had the lived and learned experience. And now you're out and you're functioning and you're doing well, not a bunch of guys that just talk about Like they know everything in the world because they read a couple books. I need to have that strong communal capital. That way, when I'm released, I have support, I have love, I have kindness. I'm surrounded by those things that I need to be successful. And I have that right now in my life. I'm surrounded by some of the most compassionate, the kindest, the smartest, I think the most loyal, and some of the most empathetic people I have ever met in my entire lifetime. And a lot of them come from school. A lot of them come from the Awakening Exchange. And a lot of them come from, they're people like you, Richard, that have done time. And now they're out and they're living life like they were supposed to, like God intended them to be, and God intended them to live.
It's really interesting that you're in Maine. I mean, I have some connections to Maine. When I went through group home as a child, I went through harbor school in Booth Bay Harbor, Maine. My father was born in Presque Isle, so I love the state of Maine. And in fact, I went out there to Portland in September of 2022. I believe I was out there with the Warden's Exchange, and we toured the Maine Correctional Complex and saw their normalcy unit. It's all brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I was so stunned by how they're doing time out there. You know about NVC?
Nonviolent communication?
Correct. Yeah. So I never even heard of NVC in Ohio. We came out there and we looked and we're like, nonviolent communication. Not even the officers are allowed to talk down to you guys out there. They're not allowed to raise their voices. They're not supposed to be calling you names or any of that stuff. And really, that's night and day to the way that I did time. I mean, when I was doing time, you were a dog. I mean, you marched on one side of a line, you scumbag blue and all that. And we've come such a long way. And I believe in that stuff. But I also think when I left Maine, I left with some great ideas, but I also left with scratching my head going, gee, you know what? If they offer a normalcy unit, and you can maybe clear me up on this, Stephen, if they offer a normalcy unit out there and they've got brand new workout facilities, I mean, this is like the Holiday Inn, really. I mean, what I saw was like, you know, if I could go back and do time and had a choice, it would be Maine Correctional Complex, you know, level 4, you know, doing the normalcy. But you wonder, like, where the fine line between punishment and learning a lesson. And hey, you know what, if I'm living under the bridge and I've got nothing to lose, why not go try, you know? And this is stinking thinking, of course, but I mean, some people might look at this and go, well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen to me if I get caught? I'm going to go back to the Holiday Inn, right? I'm going to go back to the normalcy unit. So I just wonder where there might be a fine line between learning a lesson and growing from that experience. Uh, I was tempered through the fire, if you catch my drift. I was crushed so many times. And on the floor of a dirty cell in 2002, look, when my dad got murdered in 86, I went to the altar because some pastor said, hey, you know what? God in Psalm 68:5 says that he'll be father to the fatherless. And I was like, ooh, the God of the universe is talking to me right now. And so I responded and I went to the altar and I was like, you know what, God, I'll follow you, but here's the deal. I want a new car. I want a hot chick. I want money. You know, you give me all these things and I'll follow you for the rest of my life. But when the God of the universe was like, hold on a minute, Sonny, I need you to go to church. I need you to pay your taxes, hold a job. I need you to stop smoking pot, quit hanging on the corner, quit swearing. I'm like, you know what? Christianity is too hard. But when I was facing a life sentence and in 2002 got on my face in a dirty cell and I cried out to God again, I said, you know what? I don't need all the perks that come with Christianity. That's what I thought Christianity was. I said, I just need you. And that's when a significant change began to happen in my own life. And I began to recognize that for my whole life, I had been comparing myself to other people. You know what? Compared to that pedophile down the range, I don't look so bad. You know what I'm talking about now? Hey, compared to that murderer, I don't look so bad. I did a few bad things, but my crimes were acceptable crimes. Compared to those other dirtballs, I look pretty good. Well, that's not the way God looks at us, Stephen. And if you're a faithful person, I don't know your background. If you're a believer, if you have any faith at all, the way the God of the universe looks at us is that we all fall short and that we don't meet the criteria that Christ lived. We're all underneath that. And so we need something to aspire to. And that's what I did. I started following him. It changed my world. Other people have other aha moments and experiences, but for me, it was breaking at the throne and beginning to follow him. You mentioned
That's great.
you mentioned that you got a great education. Behind me on the wall, I've got my bachelor's degree, which I'm 55 years old, and I just got my bachelor's from Ohio Christian University. I was a straight D student going through school, and fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, getting picked on, and coming out of a group home into a public school system, treated like dirt, and it just was no fun. So I couldn't, my parents were drinking, and it was a lot of distraction at home. I couldn't pay attention in school. I was getting high. It was really difficult, and straight D's. Now I just got my bachelor's degree at OCU with a 4.0, and I'm not, bragging or anything, but I'm telling you that I began to apply myself and change the trajectory of my life, and my whole world is different now. My whole world has changed because of Christ.
That's amazing. I'm really happy to hear that. It sounds like you have a lot of powerful and really wonderful things going on, and you should really, really, really be grateful. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your transformation. That sounds really amazing. And I just want to circle back to something that you said. This is my 18th year, and when I got here, they used to carry around knives, and there used to be knife fights in here. People were getting killed. I say that it's straight up and it's serious. And the way the guards treated us, they treated us like dirt. They talked down to us. They did whatever they want. In fact, some guards were doing some pretty unethical things. And over a period of time, what I saw person after person after person returning back to the main Department of Corrections. And it was the same song and dance. Like, they had got out, they went back to the same thing, they came back here. And some of these guys I've seen back here 5 times. I mean, that's sincere. I've seen people get out and come back 5 times. And I think the difference now is when you give somebody something to look forward to, when you start humanizing people, when you treat people like they can do better, they will do better. And that's precisely what's going on. They give out laptops to guys in the college program. So you can get online, you can get onto YouTube and do the stuff that people do. And that's what they're doing. They have 100 guys now in a college program that are getting associates and bachelor's degrees. What does that mean? Well, that means there's a lot of people manipulating, but at the end of the day, you know what happens? They end up learning something. And they learn something that can actually help keep them out of prison. And what's going on now? Recidivism starting to fall in Maine. People are becoming more humanized. And I'd respectfully disagree with you. I don't care what they give me at the Maine State Prison. I don't care how nice they make it. Nothing would ever substitute my freedom. And I pray.
Go, brother.
That's me. That's me. But I think I also would like to think anybody with a rational and normal mind would also want the same thing. And the vast majority of people that I do talk to, they want their freedom. They don't want to be incarcerated. They don't want to be in the system of mass incarceration. Despite having anything and everything given to you and handed to you, there's still a pain being separated from our families. There's still a pain not being able to walk out into the woods. And that mentality, a lot of people have the mentality, it's like, why give people anything in prison? Well, my punishment isn't being looked down upon. My punishment isn't not being given anything. My punishment is being taken out of society and being taken away from the people that I love and care about. It's not being able to do the things that I love to do: fishing, mountain biking, snowboarding, skiing, going to church. I can't even go to church with my family. I can't do those things. To me, that's punishment.
We don't have NBC in Ohio, but we do have opportunities for residents to go to church with their families. The families can come in on Chapel Sunday and attend church.
Incredible.
So I mean, there's growth. There's growth from various sides, and I'm all for it. And you're right. People with rational minds do not, overlook the benefit of freedom. I hear you, but the penitentiaries in the United States, and the incredible numbers of 2.2, 2.5. I've heard all kinds of numbers of millions of people locked up in this country. Many of them have mental illnesses. Many of them have not reached a breaking point. And, I, you
So,
know,
so, so I love when you just said that. Many of them do have mental illnesses. The Puritans back in the day when prisons were first created, they would lock somebody in a room, give them a Bible, and that was supposed to be their end all cure all. Somebody with mental health, somebody with challenges going on in their life. We know that doesn't work. What people need is they need services, they need wraparound services, they need people to take the time to figure out the why of their behavior and help them understand the why of their behavior so they can heal and they can get better and they can reform. If you don't have that, if the conditions are horrible, so I just want to say this, there's no but in my world, because if you create an environment that's not conducive to healing and not conducive to growth, it creates violence. And if there's an environment somebody walks into and it's a war zone, because they have these war camps that people go to and guards intentionally do things so it's a war zone. People do not, they're not getting better because the sympathetic response is in high gear all day long. And when you're stressed out all day long, you're not thinking in a linear fashion. Your brain is not able to think, it's not able to program, it's not able to get better because it's in survival mode. In contrast, when you set up in an environment where your parasympathetic response can be calm and you can actually learn and you can actually grow, goodness gracious, there's miracles that can happen and come from that. Now, resiliency and rehabilitation is a choice. It's an independent choice. So I can be resilient in either environment. That's my choice. But what makes it a lot easier for me to flourish, what makes it a lot easier for me to grow, what makes it a lot easier for me to be successful is having an environment that supports my desire to grow and be better. And thank God, I just say this, thank God for the commissioner that we have, because he came into this place. This place was, it wasn't run the way that he's running it today. He came in, he brought programs into this place. He came in, he created opportunities for people. There was no master's degree program or PhD program back then. He came in and created so many different opportunities for people, and we don't have violence in here now. What we have is we have people carrying computer bags rather than shanks.
Yep.
We have people going to programs rather than fighting. There's once in a while now, if you hear of a fist fight, it's like, oh my God, there was a fist fight. That's crazy.
And
There used
those
to be.
guys get what? They should get like demoted. And I'm not talking about grinding them to humiliation. I'm talking about, again, second chances need to be earned and not just automatic. There needs to be, comprehensive, like you talked about resiliency, you talked about the parasympathetic, approach to learning behavior and things like that. I'm all for that. Grit and resilience is what's going to change people. I
Mhm.
believe that. And um, I also believe that it's not just one size fits all. And you know what I'm talking about. Like I did the Kairos program, that changed me. I attended a bunch of Bill Glass events. Those were all good. I went to the Global Leadership Summits while I was incarcerated. I attended those and changed my thinking behavior. Read a bunch of self-help books, just different approaches. There was the Wings program, and then you got Academy through Prison Fellowship, and there's a number of other approaches, but it's all different parts to the same body. We all may be different, wearing different jerseys, but we're playing on the same team, trying to change lives and bring hope.
Well,
Some people,
you just said something I want to comment on. You said grit and resilience is what's going to change us, but I respectfully would disagree with it, and I say love is what's going to really change us. All the grit and resilience in the world, I can just keep getting through things and through things and through things. It wasn't until somebody came into the Maine State Prison, that's Candace Powell, a lady that brought hospice in here, and really showed me and helped me understand what unconditional love is. My sponsor, I worked a 12-step program. I've done a lot of different things to make changes in my life. When I really understood what unconditional love was, something changed in my heart. And when that changed in my heart, when my heart changed, is when my view of the world really, really changed. Love, grit, and resiliency, I think, are foundational pieces, absolutely. But love has to be thrown in there, my dear friend, because we can show up and teach programs all day long. Unless we really bring love into what we're doing, unless I really love you, I love you, brother, by the way. And unless I really, really, really love you, all I'm doing, I'm showing up. I'm just another body in the space. We need that love. We really need love.
Yep, I agree. I mean, we can shuffle the deck on processes and policies and come up with a million formulas. But you're right. I mean, obviously, a heart change needs to occur first. I think the grit and resilience comes in afterward. I agree with you. Um, I think that we quit a lot and we give up. When things get tough, we retreat. It's the flight, freeze, fight response. You know what I'm talking about. I remember years ago, I signed up to go to this parenting class, and there was this guy Rodney Griffith from a church in Circleville, Ohio. He entered my name into his church Christmas cards um, program. I forget the name of it. I was down at Ross Correctional. We're talking 20 something years ago. And every Christmas, I would get like 35, 40 cards up under my cell door. There was no money in them. All it was simple cards and messages that said, Merry Christmas, Jesus loves you, we're thinking about you. And $1 million program couldn't carry the weight of how powerful that was when Christmas would roll around and I would be depressed and I would be the guy on the range getting all the cards. It made me feel important. It made me feel like looked at. It made me feel heard. And so, yeah, I totally feel what you're saying. I identify with that. Did you do Kairos, by the way? Do you do your
I've, I've
Kairos?
been I've been through Kairos, yes. I
Yeah.
want to
So,
Richard, just because all the love in the world to you, just because of the topic and the time we're getting into a little bit into time. What was
okay.
one of your favorite holiday memories being in the system of mass incarceration? What was one of your favorite memories like around the holidays that still stands out in your heart and in your consciousness?
Oh, that's an incredible question, and I have no idea. I mean, honestly, to me, and I'm just quite honest with you, Stephen. I mean, I've put the prison system. I work in there now, but I don't live there. How can I answer this and have it be meaningful? We would do things for each other. I mean, our circle of friends. We'd make a break or we'd watch something on TV or something like that. Maybe we'd even exchange a gift. I mean, but honestly, being incarcerated, Christmas was New Year's, was my birthday. April was August, was May. It was all blended together, and every day was just like any other day. It was Groundhog Day. And you know what I mean? Honestly, all the special intimacy of the holidays kind of ebbed away. I would go to chapel service. But Christmas wasn't that important to me when I was incarcerated, just to be quite frank with you. Now that I'm home and I have my children and we can be together as a family, it's much more important to me than it was when I was incarcerated. I just couldn't wait to get out, brother.
I love hearing that. Thank you. Is there anything is there anything that you bring forward now being out and being a man of God, of somebody that's being of service? Is there anything that you're taking with you and you're bringing back in the system to support those? And maybe is there anything that you're doing to provide some of the things that you really felt really helped supported to change you when you were in? And what are those things?
I mean, yeah, there are. I mean, there are a number of things that I've been bringing over the years back into the prison system. One of the things that I consistently Like I don't. Ohio had a preacher, a chaplain, a prison minister for years that was coming in from the late '80s all the way until his death in 2020 from COVID. But Gary Coley was very famous in the prison systems in Ohio, and he used to have a thing where he would come in and he would. It was very energetic, very charismatic, and he would start off by saying, "Hey, homies, how many people are glad they're here and not in the electric chair?" And that would get the crowd going. And he could identify with the guys. The guys all loved him. The women in the prison systems all loved him because he was one of us. He did time. He knew what it was like. And that's what I bring. The lessons not only that I learned from Gary as a mentor, but I also have my own way of stirring the pot when I go in and I say, "Hey, you know what? You chumps still owe me a 2-for-1," or or I'll tell them, "Hey, you can sit around playing spades all day. I know because I'm a spadeologist and I can go get my partner and we'll clean out your net bag. But honestly, I got out of prison, guys, and I looked in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and guess what? They don't have any jobs for spadeologists. So if you're
Hmm.
sitting around all day playing cards or spinning dominoes, you're wasting your time. You're going to get back a 100% return on that investment. You need to be preparing for reentry now. I
That's
consistently
right.
tell the guys that going into prison is easier than getting out of prison. It's almost like considering NASA, and I'm no space expert, but it would seem a little easier to put a man on a rocket and shoot him into orbit than it would to bring him back without killing him, because he's got to come back through the atmosphere. He's got to go through the heat, and they've got to have training and communications and know where he lands and all that stuff. And I tell the guys, you know what? You're entered orbit. You're up here right now. You're locked up. And the best thing you can do is have ground control, do some training, get job prepared, get your mind and self ready, because it's going to be hard when you get out there. It's not going to be a field trip. You think it's hard in here. It's really hard out there too, and you need to be preparing. So I'm
That's
I'm
right.
consistently egging the guys in the right direction. I use my own stories and the things that I've been through. And I'll close with this. I know you probably pressed for time, but I'll close with telling you this: that years ago, I've had a lot of aha moments and changes that have happened to me over the years. Years ago, I got a letter from my fiance who waited for me 9 years, and she said to me in a letter, "Richard, I forgive you for everything you ever did before you got locked up. All the running around you did, and all the crimes you committed, and the drugs you did, and everything." And at the time, the immaturity of my mind, Stephen, I was like, "What is she talking about? How can she?" I was actually angry at her. I'm like, "How can you forgive me for doing things before I even met you? I mean, that had nothing to do with you. I don't owe you an apology. I didn't even know you at the time." But some days later, after thinking and meditating on that before I responded back in a letter, it occurred to me, like, wait a minute. This beautiful girl has been waiting for me her whole life. She is putting aside the best of her years to wait on me, a two-time convicted felon. She has done all the things that a girl is supposed to do in preparation before marriage. She's saved herself. She has gone to school. She's become a nurse. What was I doing for her before she met me? I was,
Hmm.
and the things that we do affect our future. Like my grandchildren are going to hear the stories of what I went through, and the time that I wasted, and the crimes that I committed, and the things that I did to myself. I owed her more than an apology once I realized, wait a minute, I I get it now. I get it now. And so it's the same things that it's the same way that I feel even today, is that the way that I live today has to be to the best of my ability, because I'm leaving behind a legacy. Once I was going through years ago, I was going through a reception center. And when you're going through a new joint, you go through R&D, receiving and departure. And that's where you get your pack up, and they go through your stuff, and they give you your quartermaster, and you're getting ready to go into the facility and all that. And as I was going through an R&D, I looked up on a shelf, and it was just me and an officer in this R&D. and up on the shelf there was this box, a cardboard box, like just sitting there all by itself up on the shelf. It was really odd, and it had a guy's name and number on there. And I asked the officer, I said, "What's that box?" And he said, "Oh, that's so-and-so's box. He died a couple of months ago, and that's all his worldly goods sitting in a box." And I just was like, wow, I don't want to end up just being a box on a shelf. And that being I don't want to just end up having all of my worldly goods in a cardboard box sitting in prison in an R&D on a shelf. It's got to be more than that. And so I began. Yeah.
Powerful. That's what a beautiful way to end the show. So very nice meeting you, my dear friend. Thank you sincerely from my heart for the work that you're doing in Iowa. Mary Cohen, if you ever have a chance, please meet her. She's been doing extraordinary work in the system of mass incarceration in the same state. So you guys should eventually, I hope, hook up. Thank you so much for coming onto the show this evening. Thank you so much for showing up and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And just many blessings. Merry Christmas to you and your family too. You're taking time out of your family to be here with us to share experience, strength, and hope. So thank you very, very much. Much love to you. I thank you. I hope to see you. I'm not sure if you're coming to the Awakening Exchange on Thursday with Aisha Brave Boy. We would love to have you. I'll send you some information on LinkedIn so you have it. We have a huge audience, 50 to 300 people that show up. We get together in a meeting format. We learn, we grow, we go into breakout rooms. It's really an amazing experience. I hope that you get to have it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful exchange. We thank you all for being with us this evening, and we thank you all for taking your time to listen in. We really feel fortunate and we feel blessed to be able to have these conversations. I am so grateful and blessed to the Maine Department of Corrections for the love, the support, and the kindness that they show us. I hope we can spread that nationally. And before I leave, I'm just going to give you a quick bit on our reentry program. Many blessings and so much love.
In a nation where over 2.3 million individuals are confined within the walls of our criminal justice system, the stark reality is that an alarming 76% of those released find themselves back within these very confines. This cycle of recidivism is a revolving door of suffering, straining communities, and depleting resources. A comprehensive reentry approach is the missing link in this chain. The Awakening Reentry Training is that link. This groundbreaking initiative is designed to equip families and reentry organizations with the tools they need to guide individuals on their journey of reintegration into society. The Awakening Reentry Training stands out not just for its expertise, but for the lived experiences of those at its helm. These are individuals who have navigated the labyrinth of reentry themselves. They bring to the table a unique perspective and understanding that drives the authenticity and efficacy of the training. The Awakening Reentry Training is no ordinary program. It is a personalized approach to reentry education. It recognizes that each reentry journey is unique and tailors strategies to fit individual circumstances. Its comprehensive curriculum covers everything from legal landscape to mental health concerns, ensuring that no stone is left unturned. But Awakening is more than just a training program. It is a platform for ongoing support, fostering continued growth and empowerment beyond the training period. It emphasizes the importance of community integration and provides guidance on how to foster positive connections and support networks. The Awakening Reentry Training is a beacon of hope in a landscape marred by recidivism. It is a testament to the power of transformation and redemption. But this transformative initiative needs your support. Be part of the solution. Support the Awakening Reentry Training. Because together, we can break the chains of recidivism and build a more inclusive, understanding society. Your involvement can make a profound difference. So embrace the awakening. Be the change.
Ladies and gentlemen, many blessings. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Sending you all lots and lots of love. And until next time, I hope and pray everybody is safe. I hope everybody is free, and I hope everybody feels at peace. We'll see some of you on Thursday, and others will see next week when we get back together for our next podcast. Many blessings to Rodney and to Richard, and many blessings to each and every one of you that showed up for the show this evening. Thank you. May you all have a wonderful evening, and many blessings. And I just saw my mother on there. I just want to say Merry Christmas.